actors. I think you're brilliant.
Thank you.
Is that a good way to start your morning?
It's a great way to start.
And you have a new film called Scandal that I've seen based on the Profumo scandal in England that really rocked the country in the early 60s. Good to take a true story and work with it?
Well, it is, yes. On the other hand, we were very determined that in the making of the film that we shouldn't rely on the fact that it was a true story, that we should make it into a feature film that would stand on its own two legs, as it were.
But it also does stand on the facts, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
You play Stephen Ward. You even have said that he was a very difficult character to get into. You did it very well, but why was he difficult?
Well, he's a very complicated character altogether. He goes from sleaze to sophistication and professional excellence, to a kind of social climbing. He's a very complicated character. He's a character in a minor key, but he's extremely complicated. And it was difficult finding exactly the right note on which to start.
We should go back and kind of recap the story for the younger generation who might not remember it. I certainly was too young to remember it, but I've seen the film. Jack Profumo was the Minister of War.
He was at that time called the Minister for War. Yes, it's now the Minister of Defence, of course. It's got a euphemism attached to it now.
Yeah, and your character, Stephen Ward, was very much a womanizer and introduced women like Christine Keeler.
He was a society osteopath, in actual fact, who enjoyed what he would call making better the lives of young and beautiful girls. And
introduced those girls to many in
all
government.
All of his contacts that he had basically through his clientele as an osteopath, which I might say ranged from Churchill to Elizabeth Taylor.
And then he spurned her, and she went off, and we won't tell the whole story, but she spilled the beans, and Jack Profumo fell, and many others did too, right?
That's right, yes, encouraged by the press.
Yeah. That voice, you know, this man's voice is the most sought after, probably one of the most sought after in the world, but certainly in the British Isles. Isn't that true? You do much in the way of voiceover work, is that right?
I have done quite a bit,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Pays the rent.
Many people have told you in your life to turn roles down. I mean, John Merrick and Eileen and others. You seem to have a knack, though, of picking very good roles. You don't listen to others, do you?
I don't if I think the script is a wonderful script.
What do you look for, John? What makes it good for you?
Well, I suppose in the end, it's something that would interest me. That if I was going to the cinema, that it would be something that I'd be fascinated by. And something that I feel has something to say. At the same time, is entertaining, that is enjoyable at whatever level that it's intended to succeed on.
Interesting, though. All of those comments kind of are outside of yourself. What about the range for an actor? You must look for that as well. A stretch in your abilities?
Well, yes. I mean, if you're going to play Caligula, you're bound to be stretched.
Yes, amen. And you played it so well. This film had an X rating, which was ultimately changed to R. Why the controversy?
I think that, I can only imagine that one of those anonymous gentlemen who do the censoring had some sort of kind of foible about something in the film, but I can assure everybody that whatever changes have been made are really minimal. It's not a changed version.
It wasn't cut up in order to apply
not at
to
all.
an R rating.
It regards one scene that we call the orgy scene, and I think there are a couple of images that he felt, or she felt, I don't know who they are, would not be suitable for the American public.
You know, there have been films that you have done, like I was telling you before we went on the air, From the Hip with Judd Nelson that I've seen on cable, and it's such a good film, and yet not a box office success. Does that dishearten you when you know you've played a role so magnificently and it has to get to cable before the world sees it?
Oh, it's always disheartening, that, yes. I mean, obviously we make a film hoping that people are going to go and see it. If they don't go and see it, or if they're not given the opportunity to go and see it, it's definitely disheartening, yes.
You know, we don't know a lot about John Hurt personally. Is that something that you really care very deeply about, your personal life and holding it close to you? There isn't a lot written about you.
I have done interviews. I don't talk a great deal about my personal life if I can help it. No, I think that there is a certain private area. If you can keep it private, all the better.
You did, however, though, am I right, have a very good education? Is that the backbone to your being able to develop your talent? Actually, originally you were an artist,
I had the
weren't you?
chances of a very good education, which I
did
totally
you do?
abused.
You didn't do well, huh?
I abused it, I'm afraid. I was not a good student.
You
at school.
weren't?
No, I really began to think when I left school, I think.
The headmaster said to you, "You'll never make it as an actor, John."
That's absolutely right. You've been reading, haven't you?
Yeah, but you went off anyway and said, "I will do this."
Well, I mean, I thought behaved in a very irresponsible way. I was 16 years old and you got that dreadful meeting with the headmaster, and he said, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I rather timidly said that I'd like to be an actor, and he just laughed. He said, well, you've been very good in school plays, but you'd never make it in the profession. Why he thought that he should know, I don't know.
Yeah.
In this little provincial town in England. which was quite a crushing blow at the time.
What town in England?
Lincoln.
Where is Lincoln?
Lincoln is in the North Midlands.
The North Midlands.
Yeah, on the east coast, or at least the east side of the country.
Yeah, but you went off anyway and pursued it. How much?
Eventually.
Eventually. But you have a wonderful ability for art. In fact, we watch you drawing in the courtroom in Scandal.
That's right.
And you're really actually doing that sketch, aren't you?
I was, yes.
Yeah. Oh, have you abandoned the art?
No, I haven't. No, I still paint. I'm just at the moment, I'm in the middle of negotiating a farmhouse in Brittany where I will have a studio there.
Really? So will you, a la Anthony Quinn, offer your work to the public, or
No,
do you do that
I don't
now?
feel that no, there's nothing that I particularly, I wouldn't let anything out of my studio yet.
No?
No, not really.
You mean you're going
See
to
how
tell
it
me you're
goes.
still developing the craft? Get
Yes,
out.
absolutely, I am.
Really?
Give it 20 years, I'll see what happens. Yeah.
So what are you working on now that Scandal will be released next Friday?
I'm not at the moment. I made a small film in Namibia, which was basically to do with oppressors living with oppressed. Namibia, where all the trouble's happening at the moment. It wasn't at that time. It was a terrible, I don't know what happened, but it was an awful muck-up that went on there between SWAPO and United Nations and the South African troops, it seems. But that's quite a small film. And what I'm going to do next, I don't know.
You don't know,
I don't
so
know.
you
I'm
just...
open for grabs. I'm looking for good scripts. at the
Oh, we'll
moment.
have to think of something, John. It's really good to see you, and it is a very good film. As John said, it is a major theatrical event, but it is based on the true story of the Profumo scandal, and it's something that'll be a part of history, and very well done by you. And I mean that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. And it opens the 18th at your neighborhood theater. It's called Scandal. We'll be right back. What's your handwriting like? Can I get a sample of your
rather
handwriting?
like mine.
Like yours. Would you write your name? Because we have a handwriting expert. I hope she won't mind being put on the spot. Coming up, says that a lot can be said about you, and that'll keep you around for a minute. You want to hear that, right?